Good morning, writers. Welcome to Writing Wednesday. Today we are going to talk about marketing your book. Now, this is a huge subject, right? We could talk about it for like a 3-day workshop. It is a huge subject because there are a zillion ways to market your book. But here's what I want to talk about specifically. It's based on a bad habit that I have, and I want to help you overcome this habit and to give your book some love that it deserves. Give it some glory that it deserves. And so here we go. We are going to talk about a bad habit that I have and how that happened with this book. This was, oh gosh, what book was this? Fourth, five, seven, I don't know. I have 10 altogether. It was my fourth in my ministry collection. Um, these books, the first ones are in the Worth Saving series, and this is the first book in the Worth Pursuing series. So when this book came out last June, is when I released. I had a book celebration at the studio, the photo studio. Thank you, Jamie Good, for her beautiful photo studio. She's the photographer for this book cover, and the book cover as well as the headshot and some photos inside as well. And she graciously offered to host my book launch, and so we had a wonderful little party at her studio. It was so nice to just. She was so gracious. It was really beautiful party. And then let's see. I'm trying to think of what happened in what order. So actually before the book came out, I pre-sold it at an event last February. So in February, if you've picked up a copy of the book, it actually is written diary style, and it goes through October 10th of 2000 October 10th, and then goes through February 11th. And so in February, I was at a retreat speaking, and I actually did a prophetic dance and pre-sold books at that event. So that was my first, like, here it's coming, besides the what I write about in the book. So I sold some books there. Then I had the launch in June and had a great launch. And then that was it. It was like, okay, I'm done. Done. And that was it. And this poor little book hasn't gotten any love since then. That's my bad habit that I want to help you break. And this is why I know I need to break it. Someone from church, a sweet lady named Lydia, she asked me if I had any more books out a few months back. And I was like, yeah, I have. I said, let me think. And I was thinking of all the books that she's purchased, and she's purchased the whole first series. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have A Move of Soul out. And she's like, because she wasn't able to come to the book launch. And she's like, I don't think I have that one. And I told her a little bit about it. And she's like, yeah, I don't have it. And I was like, okay, great. I'll, bring it. She's like, yeah, I want it. I want it. And so she purchased the book from me. She read it, and she was like, oh my gosh, the book. I mean, she stopped me 2 different Sundays in a row and said, I have to tell you how much this book has changed my life. And I was like, oh, and both times I cried. And because, I mean, this is a woman who is old enough to be my mother, okay? Christian woman, super volunteer. I mean, she's at the church, loves the Lord, loves serving people. She would do anything for anybody. An amazing woman. So for her to give me such praise and compliments over this book, I was like, and one of the things she said to me was that she shared her testimony at our church's women's retreat, which was in February, which unfortunately I wasn't able to be at because I was at a different function. She shared her testimony, and she said it was because of this book. This book, if you can't see it or you're not familiar with it, the subtitle is Boldly Responding to Encountering God. And so while many people think it is about prophetic dance, because I do talk about prophetic dance in here, it is about the response to being called to that. That's really what it's about, is the God's calling me to something I didn't know anything about. And I was like, are you crazy? No, we're not doing this. And the process he took me through in order to get me to actually do it, and the things that he said. And she even referred back to like that moment when you were in the closet and you're having the conversation with God, right before you went to dance. That was the moment I had right before I shared my testimony. Like, she had the same experience. And so it just made a profound impact on her life, which I'm so thankful for. Thank you, God, for using me in that way. I pray that he uses your book in that way. But here's the thing that I also pray is that you don't forget about the book once you publish it. Don't follow that bad habit that I have, right? Part of it is because I guess it's my, I don't consider myself ADHD. I consider myself, would it be, we need to make up a new term. It's like hyperactive creativity, right? So I'm very creative and I'm coming up with new ideas all the time. I have over 80 books on my to be written list. And so for me, it's like, okay, that book's done, move on to the next one, which in this case is a Bible study that's going with this book. But I also have a different book I'm working on, which is the fourth book in this series. So it's like I'm moving a million miles an hour onto the next project, and I don't give this book enough love. And with my first book, that wasn't a problem. With my first book, I went on an 8-week book tour after the book came out, and it was, that was my baby at the time. It was my first. And so I really babied it and celebrated it and just went, continued to celebrate it out. Then when the Bible study came out to that, we did an online Bible study. And so we really celebrated that for 16 weeks. Had a great experience with that. When the journal came out, I went live every day doing the journal, reading the journal prompts and sharing that. And so all of these books kind of got their spotlight time, right? But this one didn't for whatever reason. And I know it's been a busy season, but here we are. It's middle of March, and I'm like, this book is coming up on its 1-year anniversary, and like in June it'll be a year. It's been over a year since the experience I document in here diary style. And so I'm like, what am I doing with this book? Like, I need to be talking about it. It is making a difference in the lives of the people who are reading it. So I need to get it into more hands, right? That's the whole point that we write our books for, is to make a difference and to change people's lives. So if we don't make it available and tell them about it, right? I mean, obviously it's available. It's on Amazon. It's on, any bookstore you can go in and request it. So it's out there, it's available, but we have to do our job as marketers. And so how do we do that? And how do we keep it going? And how long should we keep it going are the questions, right? The question of how long is forever. Your book is relevant as long as it's relevant. And so if you wrote your book and it is still relevant today, keep marketing it today. It doesn't matter if it's written 25 years ago. Think about some of the classics out there, some of the great books that are out there, even in the nonfiction space over the last, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of when Experiencing God came out by Henry Blackaby. I mean, that book has been around for a while. I know I purchased it over probably 12 years ago, and it still has an impact on my life. In fact, I'm going to be purchasing the Bible based on that book. They did a translation based on that book. Not really a translation, but a study type Bible based on that book. I'm going to be purchasing that. A friend of mine just told me about it. I didn't know it existed. And I was like, what? I want this in my life, because that book had such an impact on me. But that book was written a while back, right? So we have to do our part to keep it relevant and to keep it in front of people. If the content is still relevant, and this content is very much relevant. All of my books are that way. They're classic content that's relevant. It's not something that, I'm not teaching people how to do TikTok videos and then 3 years from now, there'll be another platform out and it won't matter, right? I'm teaching people how to follow God, how to follow Jesus, and that's never going out of style. And so we need to, keep those books in front of people, keep serving our audiences and keep helping them. So how do we do that? First of all, thank you to my friends that have given me advice over the years. One of my sweet friends, Joan, told me, think of your book right out of the gate as having a 10-year shelf life at least. What's your 10-year marketing plan? So with all of my books, I've worked on that except for this little baby. So we're coming up with a 10-year marketing plan for this book. What does that look like? And I know it's timely because people are talking about it. People are asking me about it. I just got a text message late last night that one of my friends told her worship pastor about me and the book and the dance. And she's like, you need to reach out to, I need to connect you. I don't know what this looks like. And so I know it's relevant and it needs to be talked about. So what do we do? Okay, so if you're watching live, let me know if you have a book, if you're launched and need to market, or you are pre-launch and need to market. Let me know in the comments and we will talk about both and move a little towards just everyday marketing. So what can we do to market this book now? We're moving on almost a year later. What can we do? So obviously I'm marketing it right now, right? I'm talking about it. I'm holding it. I'm telling you what it's about, how it changed lives. I'm like giving you this whole thing. You could do that. If your book is out already, you could go on and talk about it. You can talk about the impact, a story somebody told you. You could talk about any of those things. What you don't want to do is just hold up the book and say, hey, go buy this book. It's my brand new book. Go buy my book, because they don't know why they need it. You need to tell people why they need it, right? They need it because first of all, they need to either encounter God or they need to boldly respond to encountering God. That's why they need this book. And the fact that I walk people through that process diary style, it's like they get a real live, raw look at it. And I think that that's very impactful. That was all God focused. I didn't know when I wrote this book how that would end up. I teach writing frameworks and how to write from a framework, but this just happened to be the way I started documenting the process, and it was like, oh, this is actually going to be a book. This is pretty crazy. And I've been told that it's a really fun read because of that. So don't feel like your book is in a box because of the way you wrote it. Like if you wrote it diary style or you wrote it with a framework or however you wrote it, there are still marketing ways to market. So one of those ways for this book is obviously I can start going live and talking about it, just like I am now. Easy peasy. Is it? It's not. I know that. I know it's not easy for new people who aren't used to going live, for people like me who I don't like going live. It's not easy to sit here and talk about, you feel like you're talking about yourself, right? But you're really not. If you think about it, why did you write the book in the first place? You wrote the book because you had a problem you were solving for somebody, or you had something you wanted to share with the world. So it's time to share it. It's time to benefit those readers. It's time to help the people you wrote the book to help. So that's the intention you need to go live with. You need to say to yourself, okay, how do I need to help my readers today? What is it? And maybe that is looking in your book and saying, okay, what part of this, and it's funny, I just opened to chapter 11 called Progress, Not Perfection. How fitting is that? That's actually the title of chapter 11. So progress, not perfection, right? I could talk literally an hour and I could do a whole sermon on progress, not perfection, right? So we could be here an hour just talking about that, but you could literally open your book, pick a chapter, and focus in, give a little key point, give a little nugget to your audience. If you have, this book, I don't even know how many chapters it has, to be honest, because it doesn't have that set framework. It has 20 chapters. I could do 20 live videos. There we go. 20 days worth of content, one day. I could spread it out and do one a week. I could set up a live, like I do this Writing Wednesday once a week. I could also set up a live on, whatever I wanted to call it, a Moved Soul Live, or Book Talk Live, or whatever I wanted to call it. And I could go live once a week and pick a chapter and talk about it. You could do the same thing, whether you're in pre-launch or your post-launch. And so let's see who's with us today. Someone's on here. Kim. Hi, Kim. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so excited that you're in pre-launch. And I hope you're joining me this afternoon as well. I can't wait to hear the updates on your tech stuff that we're going to be talking about inside of our coaching community. Okay, pre-launch. So you could do the same thing, Kim, in pre-launch. You can start picking apart your chapters, writing down a little nugget. This is a great thing. We kind of call it a reverse outline, where you take your chapters and you ask yourself, what is the big takeaway from each of these chapters? You pick out that takeaway, or maybe it's just a quote even. You don't even have to do the whole takeaway if that seems overwhelming in the beginning. But the good thing about doing it as a takeaway is it really helps you see that your framework is solid, that you're walking your readers through the steps. So doing it that way will help you grasp those concepts in each chapter. And then you could do a live. You could do, if you're not comfortable doing live, you could record a video. You could make graphics, anything using that same content. But the more that you're willing to put yourself out there live, the better it's going to be. Even though it's hard and even though it feels clunky, trust me, I don't know how it appears on your end, but it feels clunky to me when I go live, because I feel like I'm all over the place. I try really hard to stay in the boundaries of what I'm talking about, but I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of things that I want to share and say. And so for me to stay in the boundaries is really hard, because like I said, I could talk on this subject of marketing your book. We could do a week-long conference, right? And so to keep it tight in a short time period is sometimes difficult. Sometimes it's not though, because you're like, okay, I need to get this out and over with. But if it's just one quote you're pulling through from, you could do reels in several different ways. You could make your reel in Canva where it's actually a reel, so it's a video, but it's words, and you animate the words and make them come across the screen. That's an easy way to do reels without showing your face. You could also do a reel where you're literally flipping your page with your camera from above. You're flipping the pages and you're talking over it, where it's still not your face, but you're flipping the pages and you're saying, have you believed, encountered God lately? Would you like to know how to respond? Grab a copy, and then the last thing you show is the cover of the book, right? So you could do some reels like that. I will be doing some examples of that. You'll see some things coming with this book over on my Brenda Hare page. That's where I market these books primarily. You'll be seeing that. I'll also be putting some stuff over on TikTok. So you'll see some, I know, I just said it. I'm going to do that. So you'll see some stuff over there as well. But there's reels you can do that way. The reason why you want to do reels versus just static videos and they're not static, right, if they're videos, but just like recorded videos that you're uploading, is because the algorithm changes and Facebook shows reels to more people, right? So you put some keywords in your description of your reel. So if it's, if you're like, if I was going to do this book, I would be like, I would literally say, in whatever the topic was, do you want to learn about making progress, walking with God? It's not about perfection. Something like that so that people, like, it's picking up on progress, perfection, God, like it's picking up some keywords that I'm going to be talking about if I was just focusing in on that one chapter. But I would put some keywords in there in my description of the reel so that Facebook kind of knows where to place this in front of different people, because that's what it's going to do. You've probably seen on Facebook where you're scrolling and then all of a sudden you get this set of reels in the middle. Those reels are based on what you're searching, or what you've watched in the past. And so anyone who has watched reels on the same content or same types of books, if book reels or anything like that, they're going to start showing your reels to people. So you want to keyword load your description, but do reels because they're going to reach new people versus just putting a video on your page that's only going to show to your people. And this is really important for you, Kim, because I know you have a new page, right? So you're building your audience on your brand new author page. And so in order to do that, obviously you want to go invite your people to come like your page and all of those good things. But the more you can reach the public through reels, then you can bring people in. Okay, so let's say you get a reel that actually gets some traction and you're like, oh, people are actually really liking this reel. You can then boost it or use that video in marketing, paid advertisement through Facebook. So using the same content, now you've gotten some traction on it, go use it over and you boost it or use it as an ad, again, to reach new people. Obviously the content you're posting is going to reach the people that's on your page already, but I shouldn't say obviously, because we know that not everybody sees our stuff just because of the way the algorithm shows up, which I love it when they do like a flip. They must have done that this week because I'm seeing content from people I haven't seen in like a decade, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know these people were still friends with me on Facebook. It's kind of funny how it does that every now and then, right? A shift in content, but it seemed to happen recently. So they're probably making some more changes. So we have to do our part to get the content out there. So plan on making some reels, see what that looks like from what you're comfortable with, play around with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think we talked about this. I don't remember in what session I was teaching, but it might feel really silly because you're like, do people really want to sit there and watch a video of me doing this? But if you go over to TikTok and you look and you just look at the reels, just literally look at the hashtag book talk. You can do it on Instagram. What is it called? There's an Instagram hashtag for books too. Instabooks? I don't think that's it. Books of Instagram, things like that. You can pull them up and you can see the different reels that people are putting out there. And you will be like, oh, Okay, this person flipped their book and talked about it in the background. So all you hear is their voice and they're talking about their book. You don't see their face. All you see is the book flipping. And it's almost like it's mesmerizing to them. They're watching it flip and it's almost like they're trying to catch a chapter title or something. It's just they're mesmerized by it. And look at the number of people watching it. It's crazy. They are watching these videos. People are doing it. I don't know about you, but I'm doing it. Not necessarily book flipping, but there's some videos that I've been watching lately that I am just intrigued by watching people do their thing on camera. It's not they're not showing their face, they're literally showing their hands and they're doing something. And it's fascinating and it's almost like soothing to watch. And so I encourage you to, it might feel funny to you, try it. Try a couple different ways. If you're comfortable showing your face, show your face. If you're not comfortable showing your face, show your hands. If you're not comfortable with that, go over to Canva, design something, but make sure that it is a video and that you're getting some traction with that. So there's one way, right? One way. That's a big way because you can use your content in a lot of different ways. You can use it in static posts, you know, just a graphic. You can use it in videos, reels, all of the above, going live. All of it. You've got the content already. That's not the problem. The problem is getting the content to the people in a way that they want to hear it. So how do they want to hear it? That's the question. You have to get into their head. Where are they? Are they afraid to respond to how God's called them? That may be the question I ask. Are you afraid to respond to the call, God, the call of God on your life? Are you afraid? Have you taken a step? Do you, I could go down the whole, think about the person reading this book, what's going on in their head. Has God called you to do something that seems insane? He called me to that too. And here I walk you through it. I mean, there's so many different ways, but you have to answer the question and get into the story that they're telling in their head. So really thinking about your reader and saying, okay, what is it that they need to know? So let me give you some other examples just so you will have a variety. Okay, so that's that book. This book, I could literally talk about feeling worthy. And the subtitle says, Know Your Worth and Act Accordingly to Experience Freedom, Enjoy Fulfillment, and Live Fearlessly. So I could literally say, do you need more freedom in your life? Let's talk about it. And I could talk about this book. Are you ready to enjoy fulfillment in your life and actually feel fulfilled on a regular basis? That's a mouthful. Are you ready to live fearlessly? Are you tired of living in fear? Let's talk about what that looks like. Like you could literally use those openers, right? All I did was pick apart my own subtitle. The content is already there. Use it. I could go through on the back. This book has bullet points on the back. I could go through the back and say, okay, so it says, Worthy empowers you to transform your faith as you discover what God has in store for your life. You will, and then I list 5 different ones. And so I could literally use those 5 different ones in my talk. If I'm giving a talk, I could do it in a reel format where each one's coming up on the screen. Any of those, all the above works. The content is there. You wrote the book, you wrote your back cover copy, use it. Go back and use it. Okay, this one. This book is actually I think this is actually, no, it's not. I was thinking this was actually my copy that I wrote in, but it's not. It is a journal, 365 journal prompts to capture the goodness of God. And it is literally journal prompts, the whole book. And so the way that I did this book is, obviously I can talk about it the same way, using the cover content and going live and just talking about, are you ready to really know that you know that your God is real? Let's talk about it. And I can go into it because that's what this book is about, right? Is owning the things that God's done in your life so that you can hang on to that. Nobody can ever take that away from you. So when this book, I literally went live when it first came out. I released it, I think, at the end of 2022. And at the beginning of 2023, I went every day and did a reel. And at the time, I was playing with reels for the first time. And reels, I don't know how much it's changed, but they were 90 seconds at the time. And as you know, I talk a lot longer than 90 seconds. And so I had to go through and chop up the reels. And so I did some crazy things. Like I went through, and if I was spoke for 3 minutes, it was 2 reels, and I would say part one, part two, and I would post them. Um, it helped me sell the journal. It I got to use the journal because I was in there using it and actually filling in the prompts and talking about the prompts and sharing how I saw the prompt act in my life. And again, I had readers come forward that said, "Oh my gosh, my daughter and I are watching your reels every day. We can't get enough." At one point, somebody told me they binge watched them all. And so just going through the content that's already here, going live and talking about it, that's all you need to do. So this book, that's how that was done. Okay. And then this one here follows the more standard. This is probably more standard for your kind of book, Kim, because you have a framework in your book. So this book is the memoir of the series, and so it has a solid framework of 16 chapters. Walks everyone through the lies that they need to trash, what they need to treasure in order to transform their life and legacy. And so I could literally make 3 videos right there, one of talking about each of those. I've got 16 chapters. I could make one of each of those. I could make one just introducing, do you feel unworthy? Do you feel like you've been discarded by the world, that you don't matter? I felt that way too. And I talk about it in this book. And I talk about what I had to trash in order to transform my life in this book. And you could just talk about that, right? Because if you're connecting with the problem people are having and they're feeling discarded and unworthy and all that, then they're going to lean in a little bit more, right? And they're going to be intrigued. If I was to come on and just say, "Hey, you got my new book. I can't believe I published it," which I probably did this in the beginning because I was so excited, which we have the right to be, right? It's hard work publishing a book. So we could lean in a little bit more and get a little bit more personal with what their problem is. And I just want to show you, I don't know if you can see that. This was in my writer's retreat box this month. And I love that his little ears stick up. So he is a little bunny paperclip. And when you mark the page with it, his little ears stick up. So anyway, so cute. All right, let's see. I think we got a question. Do you look at the content you share as more or less morsels to help them want more? Yes. Not giving away too much content, but just enough. Yes, because here's the thing, right? You're going to give away content in bite sizes. If I was to go through this book, I mean, we're talking 60,000 words. So I think on the audio, that's like 6 hours of reading. There's no way I could go through this and cover everything in it on a video, right? It would be a whole workshop if I was even to attend it or attempt it. But when you're going through this, like, let's see, chapter 4 is the lies we tell. And so if I was going through this book, I could tell them, okay, as in my previous video, we're going through some of the chapters in my latest book to help you discover your worth in a disposable world, because many of us feel discarded. And today we're talking about chapter 4. And chapter 4, the title is The Lies We Tell. And to me, the lies we tell are excuses. And then I would just give a little blurb about that, right? I've got a whole chapter. I've got a good, couple thousand words to talk about that, but I wouldn't share too much of it. I might share one little story from it. I might share, but it's just enough you're basically just expanding on your table of contents. You're giving them a little bit more. That's what people judge how people buy books, right? They read the back, they look at the table of contents, they're reading the title, subtitle. And so you're just expanding on these things, helping them get a little clearer picture of what's inside the book. So yeah, just giving them enough to intrigue them. But here's the thing, don't be afraid to give them a real gold nugget, right? If I was, like right now, I'm live. This is a free video on Facebook. This content is also something that we teach inside of our paid community. So I could be like, well, I don't want to teach too much about marketing because I don't want to give away what I sell, right? But here's the thing, I sell coaching. And inside of the community, you can ask me 9,000 questions and I'm going to answer them all. Here on the live, I could be like, okay, that's all I got, folks. And I can hop off, right? So you get to determine how much of the content you're giving away and reserving, but you want to give enough away that people understand your value and that they understand the value that your book offers. Because if you don't, then it does feel very much like a sales pitch. It does feel very much like a bait and switch. And people have actually written books like this. We call it a brochure in our business. And I cannot stand a brochure. I cannot stand that kind of video. I can't stand. Now, I get it. Most videos, when people go live, they are trying to sell something. I do get it. That's why they're going live most of the time. And I get that. But give me a reason why I'm watching this video, right? If you just want me to buy your book, it doesn't feel like a good enough reason for me, right? I need to know what am I getting out of it? That's what people are asking, right? What am I getting out of this? You came on here today because you wanted to get something from this video, and hopefully I'm delivering on that. You're getting some marketing tips. That was the, marketing your book. That was what we're talking about. Hopefully you're getting some tips on that. So I'm delivering what I said I was going to deliver. Am I giving you everything under the sun? No, I already said we couldn't do it in a 30-minute video, right? We couldn't do it in an hour. So don't be afraid to give enough away that it is true value for your listener, for your reader. But because here's the thing, you're only giving one little section at a time. So they would literally, even if they binged everything, they would have to sit there and binge everything, and they're still not going to get the whole book, right? So it'd be more like they're getting the Cliff Notes. And if they're your ideal customer, your ideal reader, they're going to not only consume all of the content, they're going to go buy the book. And here's the true test of that. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but for me, if I'm an audiobook listener mainly because I just don't have the time to sit still and read most of the time. And so I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing other things. In fact, I just went and downloaded like 8 because my credits were kind of stacking up, and I'm like, I need to get all these credits out of here. So I went and downloaded a bunch of books to listen to. And I can go back through my Audible library and look, and I can tell you this book I listened and then I bought the paperback. This book I listened and then I bought the paperback. This book I listened and then I bought the paperback. Because the content was so good while I was listening, I wanted to highlight it. I wanted to circle it. I wanted to see it. I'm a visual person, so I wanted to see it. I was like, I need this book. I need to see this, and so don't be afraid to give things away, because the right person who's resonating with the content is going to buy it in whatever format they can get a hold of it in. And so there's several books in my library that I have all the versions. Before I've purchased books on ebook because I want to read it immediately. And then I'm like, I wouldn't mind listening to this on audio. And then after I listen to it on audio, I'm like, you know what? I actually want the paperback because I do want to physically, like I said, I'm a visual learner. I like to physically highlight, learn, circle, make notes in the margins, all of those things. I'm the book nerd's biggest fear, I guess. I followed this page, and the other day they said, if you dog ear pages in a book, we can't be friends. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I guess we can't be friends, because I tear up a book when I read it. I'm dog earing pages, I'm highlighting, I'm circling, I'm drawing. That's me in a book. I am consuming the content and really making it work for me. And so I like to have all the copies. So don't be afraid. If it's resonating with them, they are going to snag a copy. Okay. And you just need to let them know how they can do that in your comments. Just like today, in the comments, A Moved Soul is pinned there. That was the main book I was talking about. It's pinned there. People want to know more about it, they can go and click it. And that was, whenever you go live, you do want to have a call to action. Okay. So at the end of your live video, when you're talking about your book, at the end of your live video, at the end of your reel. Now, if you're in Reels, they don't want you to put it in the description of your, they don't like it when you put a URL in the description. I don't know why. I guess they just don't want to drive traffic away from Facebook, which is understandable for Facebook. But you can literally talk about it in your video. So I could say in this video right now, I could tell you, you can hop on over to Amazon. A Moved Soul is available. I could tell you, you could go to amovedsoul.com and grab a copy of that book as well. And that'll come from me and be signed, I think. Maybe it's connected to Amazon. It might be. But you can go check it out there and learn more about it. And then obviously also today I have a link listed in the comments for our Writers Retreat box because we are selling April's Writers Retreat box. If you don't know what the Writers Retreat box, I mentioned this little paperclip being in it. This was just the tiniest of the I think this one had 11 items in it. But a Writer's Retreat box is literally a Writer's Retreat delivered to your door that I do every month. It comes with a devotional, a writing exercise, and then a bunch of goodies that are curated around that so that you can literally have a little Writer's Retreat goodie bag experience during your writing time. And so that link is also in the comments. So whatever it is you're talking about, you want to have that comment, the call to action in the comments, or you want to be able to talk about it on the reel. So if I was on a reel right now, because I can't, Facebook doesn't like it when you put that in the comments, I would just say you can grab it at writersretreatbox.com. That's it. And so that they have it and they can write it down. It's easy to remember. And so with your website, you could, on your website, Kim, you could put, and this is probably going into our teaching for the next time we're together this afternoon, but you could literally build a page that talks about your book. And so again, book marketing, right? You have a page on your website, all keyword loaded, has your book's description, has some benefits and things from your book's back cover copy. You could literally copy the back cover copy and stick it on that page. Has pictures of your books, has pictures of you with the book if you have it. You put that on your website. If you're not going to sell books directly from your home, which you can or you can't, if you don't want to ship books, you don't have to do that fulfillment. You can literally put a link to Amazon on your website and then they can go purchase the book. But when you're here live, like I just did, you can't really say go to amzn.to. Like it's just a nightmare, right? And so you could either do a short link, which I don't know that they do that much anymore for I don't think it allows you the short links to do an Amazon link like that anymore. But you can say, go to brendahare.com or amovesoul.com, and that would give them more information and then link them to buy the book. So obviously people can go search it on Amazon if they want, which is great and helps you in the long run when people are searching for your content. But to make it easy on them with no friction, you can give them a link that goes directly to that. So by you sending them to your website, if you want to send them to Kim Oswalt /book, you can. Here's the thing, and I know you're working on a second book. I think you're working on a second book. Yeah, you're working on a second book. You want to pick a URL that's going to work, think into the future, right? So if it's /books, then you could list all your books on one page. You may only have one book to start with, but then later you can put all your books on one page. That way, you're not having to direct people specifically to one page, go to this one. Like for this, I could just say, go to brendahare.com/books and you'll find all of them. But if I was trying to direct them to one particular book, I would say, go to here, go to there, right? So I have some URLs for some of those. For some of them, I don't have multiple URLs. So you just need to decide how you're going to set that up on the back end. All right, I think that covers some book marketing. The biggest tip I wanted you to take away from this today, which doesn't apply to you, Kim, because your book is in pre-launch, but the biggest tip is don't forget about it. And I guess it does apply to you because I don't want you to launch, have a good launch party, and then you're like, whew, it's over. Okay, now what? You don't want that experience, right? So let's talk through, and Kim, since we're in coaching this afternoon, let's talk through what some next steps are for you besides doing some of these reels. Like, what can you do next? And I know you got that author talk checklist, so you can walk through that, start scheduling out some author talks, things like that. So we'll talk some more about that, but I want people to understand that your book has a longer shelf life than just a launch, and you can come and be talking about it at any given time. It's how you talk about it that matters. Connect with your readers and make it valuable to them. And it doesn't matter how long your book has been out. The first book in this series has been out since 2018, so going on 6 years this year. And I will still be talking about this book until Jesus Calls Me Home. So all of the books, you'll start seeing more marketing coming on my Brenda Hare social media, Brenda A. Hare social media around all the books. So I will lead by example, and you'll see those coming over there. Because I've strayed away from it a little bit in the last, I don't know, few months. And so I just want to get back to it because I do want to get these books in the hands of readers. And I thank my sweet friend Lydia for reminding me how important it is to do that. So get your book in the hands of the people you intended to write it for to begin with. All right, I think that's it. Unless you have any more questions, let's see. Kim has another comment here. Very slow progress at the moment, but hoping to gain steam once those details for first book get settled. Good. Yeah, once you get everything back from your editor, you can start doing some of those, which you have your table of contents lined out already. So you can start kind of picking apart, deciding what you're going to brainstorm. One of the things that you could do is literally write your table of contents and then just brainstorm some thoughts around each of those chapters and just think, what comes easy to me to talk about this chapter? What comes easy? And just write that down. It doesn't have to be you're going through the book and you're, oh my gosh, how am I going to decipher or not decipher dissect? How am I going to dissect this whole chapter to pull out pieces? Like that can seem kind of overwhelming sometimes, but then it might not. You can go through and pull out some, maybe they're your call outs that you already used if you did call outs, or maybe there are some zinger one-liners that you would use as call outs had you done call outs, or that you would think, if I was reading this book, I would have highlighted this. Then that's something that you can pull out and talk about, pull out and put on a graphic. In this book, I actually did that for my readers. At the end of every chapter, I gave them a quote with the hashtag worth saving. And then throughout my promoting this book 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I used those hashtags. And that's honestly probably what I'm going to circle back around to start with. I will start using those. And it's already there, right? It's already content that I've already done. So use what you have. Don't get overwhelmed by it. You wrote the book, you have it, it's edited. Start making some graphics, start pulling some things aside. Once you actually have the book, of course, when you get that first copy, your proof copy, do that box opening. That's going to be a huge video for you. You don't have to show your face if you don't want. We talked about this last week, but do that box opening because that's always a hit. And then you can start using that image, your book everywhere. Even if you're ordering only from Amazon and it has that stripe across it, don't be afraid to use that everywhere. You can, either hold your book strategically where you're covering that up and talk about it. You can just show it. It doesn't matter, right? People know this is a proof copy. You can say this is a proof copy. It's going to be available on this day or whatever. You can talk about it like that. But showing it is so important so that people can feel it, see the weight of it in their hands. It just helps people understand what they're actually getting, right? Because now they can see the difference. Same with these books. This is a completely different category, but if I was talking about the difference and I was talking about this book, I could say this is a focus read. You can tell, right? It's smaller on all levels. It's a focus read. It's the answers to clarify an author's vision. I've been told I should write a book, and this little focus read is a quick read to answer the question, should you actually dive into publishing your book or not? This is the book that's going to help people make that decision. And so holding it and showing them this is a focus read. See how light it is and small it is, and like you can just grab it and read it really quickly. That's what I want to show them, right? In holding it up. That's why it's so important to get a copy of your book and hold it up. Then the same with this. This is a workbook, right? The workbook. And so showing this is an actual workbook. There's worksheets in here throughout, and showing them the weight of it and the thickness of it really helps them grasp what they're getting a hold of. I know for me, I've been disappointed in the past when I've ordered a book off of Amazon and I was expecting an actual book, and it came and it was like really, really thin. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I pay for it? Now, thankfully, the content did follow through on its promise, but I was still a little taken back by how small the book was. But actually showing, and I just realized I don't have my wedding rings on, actually showing the books and having them, in your hands is an extra just bonus to have in your videos. So, and in your marketing graphics and all of those, actually showing the book instead of um, a digital copy of the book is that much more eye catching, if you will. So, you'll see throughout my social media, if you go like on my Brenda Hair and you scroll back, um, this is here marketing tip, okay? And we talked a little bit about this the other week, but you can go to a hotel or a any place that has a nice lobby, really. Or maybe you have this in your home. Maybe you have just a beautiful end table and lamp and all of these pretty things, right? You can set your book up there, take all kinds of different pictures with it, where it's just a still image, but it's an actual physical copy of your book. That those images are going to hit the reader differently than if it's a digital, you've digitally put your book into one of those Canva images. Now, we've done all of the above, but you'll see the difference when you start posting them, that the real images of your book resonate that much more with an audience. So don't be afraid to put the book on your counter with a cup of tea, or put the book on your coffee table, or hold it in your lap, or whatever it is, and use those in your marketing. All right, I think that's it for today. That's a lot of marketing in one 45-minute video, but hopefully it's simplified for you. So just to recap, we talked about having your book having a shelf life. Don't forget about it after the launch. You can always circle back to it at any time, doesn't matter how long it's been out there, and use the content of your book to market your book, but get in the heads of your readers when you do it. So I think that covers it. I will see you later today, hopefully, Kim. And anybody watching the replay, let me know if you're in pre-launch or launch and what your biggest takeaway from this was today. Talk to you later.